Well, I'm very glad to be back with episode 31 of our baseball journey, the recap of my wife Carol and my visits to each of the 30 then current Major League ballparks and a few obsolete ones as well. Episode 31 finds us in Southern California, right next to Mexico. We're in San Diego at Petco Park. You can see a picture of the two of us that was taken before the game started. And you can see me with my Fighting Phil's cap on there and my Brooklyn Dodgers jersey. We had a very enjoyable time in San Diego. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Padres t-shirt. And you might say, what other names are the San Diego Ball Club known for? Well, you'll see friars, images of priests, frequently referred to as part of the baseball team culture, and fathers as well. They're named actually for the Franciscan friars that had the first Spanish mission in California in 1769. We had a great game, and without further ado, we'll step into talking about the slide. And so let me first share that with you. And secondly, maximize it. And then move me away from any of the other pictures. You may recall, as the first bullet says, we flew into San Francisco, drove down the coast. We stopped in LA, of course, and then we drove to San Diego, which was a much shorter trip than from San Francisco to Los Angeles. We arrived in San Diego on September 11th of 2019. And so one of the things we thought we could do on a patriotic day is check out the U.S. Midway Museum. And here's the aircraft carrier Midway. You can see it here, or you can see it here, as well as here, with one of the green screen photos that they took of Carol and myself. But we had a very enjoyable tour on the Midway Museum, both above decks and below decks. And here you can see one of the planes folded, with the wings folded, so that they're a little bit more compact for being stowed underneath the main deck. And one of the things that I'll always remember about this tour is you got a chance to see a lot of the quarters as well. And many of the quarters had wax people or mannequins, whatever, indicated there. And that gentleman right there, the quartermaster or whatever, was standing very, very still. And he scared the bejesus out of a lot of people because he suddenly came to life. And so that was one of the highlights of that particular visit. But we had a chance to participate in a September 11th remembrance service that was held on the deck of the Midway. And at the Midway Museum Park, they also have a kissing statue or a kissing soldier statue. And this statue is quite large. It's solarized here, but this is a person. So this statue, you get a sense of scale there. And where the kissing soldier statue comes from, and there's another one, I think, in Times Square of New York City, is, of course, the iconic photograph that was taken at the end of World War II. Now, it occurs to me that I forgot to take up the second part of that first bullet here. This steeple we saw as we were driving down I-5, Interstate 5, into the city of San Diego. And the trivia question here is, can anybody name the denomination just by inspecting the steeple? Well, it's hard, I know, for interaction with the Zoom recordings, but if I told you that right up here is the golden statue of Angel Moroni, would that help? Well, this is a church of the Latter-day Saints. It's a Mormon church, and many of them, maybe not all, I don't know, have Angel Moroni on the top of the steeple. Now, let me say a word or two about this game. The box score, of course, as is typical for all the rest, all you got to do is click on the little descriptive box at the bottom right of the screen. You can see the score here. It was 4-1 Cubs. So the Cubs won, and they also came into the game with a better record. So that was not a surprise. Yu Darvish pitching for the Cubs, 2 hits the Padres through 6 innings. So he was a very effective pitcher for the game. And Manny Machado did something in this game that I don't think he ever has done before. And that is, he was a pinch hitter in the 9th inning. And not only that, he was hit by the pitch. And not only that, he got an RBI. He was responsible for advancing the runners and having San Diego record its one and only run in that game. So, as the caption or whatever says, Manny took one for the team here, and here he is batting in that one at bat that he had late in the game. I have a few pictures of the game in the ballpark. I have the same image that is behind me in Zoom right here. A couple of nice shots of the ballpark. Frequently, my wife walks around each of the ballparks, and several of these pictures, I'm sure, are hers. This is from a postcard of Petco Park. This is another nice shot of the ball field as well. But this, as my wife was walking around, she actually came across the organist, and that's a shot of the organist playing during the game at Petco Park. So I think that does it for all the things I want to say about the game and the park. Now I'm going to move on and talk a little bit about other things that we did beyond the Midway Museum in San Diego. San Diego is the downtown area, very close to the hotel that we were staying in, is known as the gas lamp quarter. And I'm not sure you can see, maybe a gas lamp right here, but this is entrance to the very compact downtown area. And it's known as the gas lamp quarter, I believe, because of the Victorian architecture that was common in San Diego, and the also the fact that that area was lit with gas lamps for quite some time. Now, we frequently stop in at Hard Rock cafes, whatever. In San Diego, there was a Hard Rock Hotel very close. And the one thing that intrigued me there was I found a Jim Morrison conference room at that Hard Rock Hotel. And being a Doors fan, that had to make the slide for our recap of our San Diego visit. Now, one of the photos that I did not highlight about the ballpark, or I guess two of them, um, the Blue Water Seafood Market and Grill, a salad place here. The food options in Petco Park were just fabulous. You could get Mediterranean cuisine. The variety was wonderful. Fish tacos, Mexican food, sushi. You could get cheesesteaks there as well as all the typical baseball fare that you might have. But all of the variety led this to be my wife Carol's favorite park for just the scope and diversity of food options that were present. So, a wonderful park from that perspective. A very beautiful park, of course, and not too many parks have wonderful palm trees outside them, as you can see here. Now, this, just as a little bit of a geographic orientation, this is downtown San Diego right here. This very curving bridge is a bridge to Coronado. The right here is the Coronado area of San Diego, maybe a peninsula, I think. And it's where there is a significant Navy presence as well. So we, of course, did return, or at least I returned to the hotel to Coronado, and one of the places we went was this lovely old hotel, the Hotel del Coronado. Now, I had been there years ago for a brunch, and it was a brunch that rivaled the kind of the standard that I feel exists for brunches. The Hotel Hershey brunch, if you've never been there, that's a wonderful place for a brunch too. But we ate at a wonderful restaurant in the Hotel Del. It's called Shearwater, and it was just a tremendous meal. Now, we also walked the beach prior to the meal, and here you can see a panoramic shot of the beach. But as the bullet indicates, there were also, it seemed almost like competition of various sandcastle builders, and some of them wanted to charge you if you were taking photographs of them. Fortunately, this author did not have that requirement, but they had some just wonderful creations and structures that were built on the beach at the Hotel del Coronado property. We also spent a day at Balboa Park. Um, Several things that you'll see on this slide relate to that particular visit. We saw the San Diego Museum of Art, and I believe that's this. We stopped into something to humor George, a railroad museum. You can see something here about that. And they also had a replica of the Globe Theater. They called it the Old Globe Theater as well. And I'll skip down to the last bullet just for a minute to say they had a model of at the Railroad Museum of my favorite locomotive. It's a Pennsylvania Railroad GG1 that I think was in operation from like 1930 through like 1984, principally on the corridor from New York to Washington, although it also ran a spur on electrified track all the way from Philadelphia to Carol and my junior high and high school hometown of the Harrisburg area in Pennsylvania. And it picked up the electricity not from a third rail, but instead from above. And I forget what it's called. Cata, not catamaran, but whatever. The wires for the electricity were overhead. Okay, I think I've covered just about everything on this slide. And the last thing I'm going to mention is, again, I worked for Air Products, and so one of our products was liquid nitrogen. And we stopped in a fancy ice cream place called the Creamistry, and you can see a gentleman actually concocting some of our ice cream here, and you can see the remnants of my chocolate ice cream right there. The link that you see for Creamistry takes you to something that describes that particular franchise. And so if you're interested, you can certainly go there by finding the slides. And you can find the slides by looking in the description for the playlist where you probably went to find this particular video. So there is a URL, a link there for how to find the slides. I did fail to mention this link. Again, I like to reiterate that with each of the chapters or episodes that I talk about. That includes the photos from 3 days of our stay in San Diego. The middle one is the one where we saw the game. And so there's several hundred there, as you can imagine. I think that concludes the story for San Diego. This is episode 31. Episode 32 takes us a little bit further east. We drove from San Diego to Phoenix, and we stopped in Phoenix for a few days, enjoyed a stay there, and checked out the Diamondbacks. And so that's what I will be talking to you about next.